Next, in the original Star Wars, in the scene where Tarkin and Vader have Leia prisoner, they talk of how they're going to test the destructive powers of the Death Star and to destroy Alderaan. But in Rogue One, they test it twice. It's contradicting the story. It was supposed to be that they had never tested it before. Oh, and I know they only destroyed cities. They didn't destroy planets. Why they only destroyed cities, I don't know. If we have something this destructive, then how come we're not going to test the full destructive capabilities? The only reason they didn't is because they knew in the original Star Wars they had already tested it. So why did they contradict canon and test it twice in the movie beforehand? Next, let's talk about the scene in Rogue One where Krennic takes all the engineers and designers of the Death Star out in the rain, where they're now open targets for Cassian to kill, who just conveniently happens to be there right at that exact moment. Krennic then announces that someone has put a flaw in the designs of the Death Star. First off, how does he know that? Nothing has come from it yet. How does he know? And if there is a flaw, why didn't he tell Tarkin? Why didn't he tell Mahdi? How come Mahdi even says there's no way they could find a flaw in this Death Star if we already know there's one built in it? And not only that, but Krennic has to ask who put the flaw in? You don't think it might be the guy who you kidnapped? And whose wife you killed? And whose daughter you left behind on the planet? Next, there's a scene where Mon Mothma is talking to Bail Organa. And she says, "What about your friend, the Jedi?" And Bail says, "Yeah, I'll contact him." That was not the plan. It was never the plan to contact Obi-Wan Kenobi. The plan was for Leia to take the plans to Alderaan. But she got caught. And because she got captured, she had to put the plans into R2-D2 and launch him down to Tatooine because they remembered that some old hermit lived there who had once served in the Clone Wars. It was never the plan to send it to Obi-Wan. That was plan B. Another contradiction of canon. Next, let's jump to the scene where Jyn and Cassian are breaking into the data vault. So they're digging through, trying to figure out which file it is, and they find one named Stardust. And now Jyn goes, "That's it, because that's me." Well, it's a doggone good thing that Jyn was the one assigned to go into the data vault, because had anyone else gone in, they never would have known. Why would you name the plans that you ultimately want the rebels to find something that only one person will understand? Anyway, Stardust aside, Cassian and Jyn have to shoot through the window because there's no door, and they have to jump across to the tower. Yet, one floor above, there's a door that opens to nothing. It just leads right to the shaft. How convenient for Krennic that there happens to be a door that leads to nothing immediately above them so he can shoot at them. Bad writing. Next, more technology that isn't in the original Star Wars films. But we've got these shields, and as cool as they are, but they're these circular shield generators that hover above the planet. They create a door that you can come through. How come we've never seen those before? I mean, that scene really, literally does take place 15 minutes before the original Star Wars. Why have we never seen a shield like that before? You can't do something like that. You can't introduce new technology 15 minutes before the original story. And then not only that, I don't understand why the ships are all blasting at the shield. Like how is this holding up? Why are they instead not blasting at the circular shield generator? Because ultimately that's how they destroy it anyway, is when they send the Star Destroyer down into it and blow it up. Instead of wasting your lasers on the shield you know is never going to give, maybe you should shoot the shield generator. Which then leads to my next question. How come we can't send transmissions through shields? That's never been that way through Star Wars. The Millennium Falcon has a shield. Yet throughout the entire Death Star battle in Return of the Jedi, they're in constant communication with each other. In fact, in Rogue One, when the battle begins, they send a transmission to Tarkin and tell them they're under attack. How did that transmission go through? Is it because it went through that tiny little opening? Do you have to line that opening up just perfect for wherever you shoot out your transmission? And while we're talking about transmissions, let's go back to the original Star Wars movie, the very beginning, when Leia's blockade runner has been sucked into the Star Destroyer, and now the Stormtroopers and Darth Vader are blasting their way in. Darth Vader comes marching in, goes in and grabs one of the rebels by the throat and picks him up and says, "Where are the intercepted transmissions?" Intercepted? According to Rogue One, there was no interception. The rebels sent the transmission, the rebels received the transmission. An interception would imply that the Empire sent the transmission, and the rebels intercepted it. Yet again, another canon-contradicting catastrophe. And now, while we're talking about Darth Vader blasting in, let's talk about the scene in Rogue One where they're obviously mimicking what happened in the original Star Wars, where Vader comes blasting in. Now, they set that scene up by the rebels have now transmitted the message up to the rebel ship. Next, they upload it to the data tapes and they're trying to run it to the blockade runner. Next, we see a scene out in space where Vader is coming in on a shuttle surrounded by TIE fighters. Next, we find the rebels in the hallway all lining up just like they did in the original Star Wars, preparing for Darth Vader to come blasting in. How did Vader get on the ship? It's a rebel ship! What did they do? Just open up the landing bay doors and let him in? How did he get there? How did he get... That would have taken him forever if they had let him in. How did he get to where Leia was and where everybody was running? I don't get it. How did he wind up there immediately? They should have had hours to prepare to fly away. It makes no sense how Vader was suddenly in the rebel ship. Next, they're all running down the tunnel trying to get in there and the guy's holding the plans and he can't get the door open. Vader comes in and he starts killing everybody with his lightsaber and he starts throwing people on the ceiling and he starts ripping weapons out of their hands. Yet he's not smart enough to just use the Force to pull the plans out of the guy's hands? Come on, guys. Poor writing. And now, the plans are finally on the blockade runner and Leia takes off with them, heading to Alderaan. Or according to this movie, heading to Tatooine. Anyway, she's gone. Vader is still on the rebel ship. How is he going to get off in time to then get back to his Star Destroyer and take off and chase Leia? If Leia isn't already to Alderaan by now, she was the wrong person to pick for this mission. How on earth did Vader catch up so quickly? Heck, he's just standing there at the docking bay. Why don't they just push him out into space? It's once again just a total, complete contradiction of canon, and it's a complete mess of story writing. I don't understand when story became such a secondary aspect to storytelling. Alright, I'm sure I've made plenty of enemies by now, and I could have included a lot more and gone on for another hour and a half, but I'm choosing to stop here for now. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, I'm sure you're going to post in the comment section below. But thanks for watching. Good night, good luck, and may the Force be with you.